Guys, this video is sponsored by Bardia Helmley at Premier Fight Picks. Bardia is a top combat sports bettor and analyst with a 70% record tracked over 4 years. Guys, Bardia was on fire last week. UFC Paris, Bardia went 3 for 3 with premium picks. He had big hits with Surreal Gone, and he picked him to win by finish. He parlayed that with Robert Whittaker and gave us Imanov and underdog Nathaniel Wood. This was all just last week, guys. Bardia's back. There are currently 3 bets posted for this weekend's UFC 279. 4 bets posted for next weekend's fight night, Sandhagen versus Song, and a big bet posted for the upcoming Adesanya versus Pereira fight. A subscription will get you instant access to all of this and more, so don't miss out. Go subscribe right now at PremierFightPicks.com. And guys, in real time, I just hung up the phone with Bardia. He wants me to remind you, you can follow him on Instagram at Premier Fight Picks, and sometimes he's going to give you free bets and always a great analysis. Nate Diaz versus Tony Ferguson. Now, guys, a lot of us, are we rejoicing? I mean, in all fairness, we, the community, we did ask for this fight, didn't we? We 100% called for this fight, and this was the fight that we wanted to get. But how can we do it? They have such similar stories, guys. If I started talking from now until bell time, I couldn't tell you guys the whole story. Are you guys aware of Eddie Bravo and the rubber guard? Are you aware of how that disrupts Hoist and Hickson and the traditional guard that we were exposed to in 1993? Some of you just said yes. Some of you are. Some of you don't even know that history, and you have the representative of EBI taking on the representative of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. That's fascinating. What if I was to tell you their histories through the Ultimate Fighter? What if I was to tell you that they were both Ultimate Fighter winners? The toughest tournament in all of sports, that's been tested before. I'm sure over time, if you really sat down and looked at it, you've had plenty of champions versus champions. But I'll tell you the first time that it happened, because it was a huge deal. The year was around 2005, 2006, and it was Michael Bisping going to take on Rashad Evans. Both of these guys were good. They went on to be future champions. They went on to be Hall of Famers, but they were a main event at that time. And what did they have in common is they had both won the toughest tournament in all of sports. That's the same that's going on here. By the way, guys, there's only a handful of guys that will cover the spread of 55 and 70. You could go find RDA. You could create a couple of guys, but make sure you don't misunderstand me. Being a 155-pounder and then moving up and becoming a 70-pounder. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Going 55, going 70, going back to 55, and yin and yanging back and forth because you are so willing to take on anybody. There's a few handful of guys. Oh, by the way, we just found 2 of them. Now, what else do they have in common? I mean, these are the OGs, as people say, right? These are 2 Redwood originals here. But what else do they have in common? Should I mention that they geographically live 48 miles from one another? I mean, who would have thought that the UFC could be big enough? Who would have thought that California could even be big enough? And somehow, these 2 have stayed clear. Now, rewind the tape. It's the fight we want, guys. We're asking for this fight, but we can't do it. Why can't we do it? Because it doesn't affect the rankings. These guys are going to be on pay-per-view. You can't be on pay-per-view unless you're either in a championship match or the promoter has at least dangled the idea that it's a number 1 contender spot. You can't get on pay-per-view. You want to know what these guys have in common? Neither one of them won their last fight. You want to know what these 2 have in common? Neither one of them has won their last 2 fights. I don't have the Sherdog Fight Finder off the top of my head, but I know that I've got that statement true. Tell me somebody who fits that bill who's on pay-per-view. You're having a hard time, aren't you? Now tell me somebody who fits that bill who's on pay-per-view in the main event. You see, because there is a winner here. There is a winner between Diaz and Chimaev, and some things it comes down to flipping of a coin. Oh, it's true. It's true. You remember Kurt Angle? Your wrestling hero in 1996. He had a tied score in Atlanta of the Olympic Games. They were out of time. Time ran out and the score was tied. They used to go by something called a referee's decision. 3 referees, they'd huddled up, nobody could hear them. They would pick a winner. Now, in Kurt's match, in all fairness, he should have beaten Jadidi, and he win. But I'm sharing with you that there is a pick, and it will come down to that. I'm a wrestler, guys. We have something known as a dual meet, and you're going to look at the team score. But if the team score is tied, you're then going to break down to who won the most matches individually. But if that's tied, you're going to go to a third criteria, and you're going to go to fourth. There's 7 criteria, ultimately, of which if you get to and they're dead even, the referee will flip a coin. That's the actual rule. The NCAA will honor that. Decision's been made. You make no mistake. One guy is on his way out the door. You don't headline a UFC pay-per-view if you're not a champion. If you're not a contenders match and you damn sure don't do it, you're way out the door. Now you got the A side and the B side. One thing in common, they didn't win their last fight. One thing in common, they didn't win their last 2 fights. You guys understand there's a difference. You're telling me that there was no resolution in Diaz versus Chimaev. Is that really what you think? You don't think that this was resolved? You don't think under the terms that I just set forth, where you're going to have criteria 1, 2, 3, go down to 7, and eventually you flip a coin. One guy's a main event and one guy's not. It has been decided. It is a massive deal of how you get here. And whenever I encourage young fighters, when they want to sit down, they want to talk about start being stars, they give me their ideas and I sit there and I'm polite. They're going to put on sunglasses at a press conference. And they're going to make this funny quip. And they're going to put out some funny things on social media. You want to come up with a recipe to be a star? One thing that you better include is be ready to take a fight on short notice, because there is nothing that will get you to the top faster. There is nothing that will create an opportunity for you in this sport like being ready at all times. Nick and Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz, Tony Ferguson. They have a number of things in common. They have a number of reasons that this fight should happen. They have more things stopping them, and they have more things saying, no way do you headline a pay-per-view. The biggest commonality between your 2 Ultimate Fighter winners, between your 2 boys from California, between your perennial contenders, the biggest commonality between 2 of your favorites and jiu-jitsu legends is one thing that they have that the other boys on the card don't, and few ever do. The courage, when called upon, to say yes.